Rev up your engines! Now, today we're going to talk about station wagons. This is a 2013 Jetta turbo diesel. Now, yes, it's a Volkswagen, and the owner admitted that everything bad that I said about Volkswagens has happened to this thing, but he's not in that bad of a situation for a couple of reasons. So he bought it used for 17 grand, had like 30,000 miles. Now it's got like 190,000. So not only has he gotten his money worth, but you can see the leaking sunroof. More about that later. You'll see one thing here, and there it is. See how this is kind of crunched in? It's all crunched in. Well, it's a Volkswagen, they're expensive to fix. The insurance company said, it's totaled. So they gave him $11,000. Well, so now he's into the car very little, even though he's already got 160,000 miles on it. But as you can see, it's still dented in. You know how much money he spent fixing it? Nothing. He's just driving it this way. It crushed the top. It doesn't affect the running of the car. And as for the sunroof, well, it leaked before it was bashed. It leaks a little bit more now. You can see he's put some silicone on it, but it leaked even before that was crushed in. You get a car crushed like the top. It's the same thing I tell people. If you want to get a deal on a car, buy a hail damaged car. Yeah, it's going to have dimples all over the place. It's still going to run exactly the same, right? So if you don't care what it looks like, Now, as we look under the hood, this is a turbo diesel. And yes, it was one of the Dieselgate ones. It's all taken care of by the previous owner, so he didn't have to mess with any of that stuff. Now, granted, with 190-something thousand miles, it does burn oil, but it burns a quart every 5,000 miles. Which is nothing to really worry about. Volkswagen says that's how they are. It's a diesel, it's high compression, it's 190,000 miles. So a quart every 5,000 miles, that's when I change it anyway. Now he gets 625 miles out of a 14-gallon tank, and he'll get anywhere between 48 and 50 miles a gallon driving on the highway. You can't argue that. Granted, this car isn't for most Americans because, look inside, it has a manual transmission. Not only do most Americans not know how to drive a manual transmission anymore, it's a good anti-theft deterrent, right? Guy tried to steal a cop's car, but it was a manual. He couldn't drive it, so the policeman who owned the car arrested him. Well, today, over 96% of Americans, that's 96%, drive automatic transmissions. So most people wouldn't even think about buying this car, but with the manual transmission, not only does it have more oomph, but basically they can last forever. It's a diesel. Most Americans hate diesels. They smell, they think they're slow, but it's a decent size. It is a 2-liter engine, and it's turbocharged. Now I know a bunch of you are going to say, Scotty, you're a hypocrite. You said never buy a turbocharged engine. Diesel engines are different. They have extremely high compression. They're very strong inside. They can take turbochargers. They were amongst the early ones that had turbochargers because they were so slow. They had to do something to give them more oomph. All the big diesel trucks you see on the highway, they got turbo diesels on them, and those things can go over 1,000,000 miles. You maintain them right. Diesel is different than gasoline. Gasoline fuel's kind of acidic, right? It'll eat stuff up. Diesel is more of a lubricant. So the diesel fuel actually helps lubricate the vehicle, and they will last a lot longer. This one has 190. I've seen it with 290 on them. They're still running down the road decently. If you don't mind the diesel, you get tremendous range, great gas mileage. Other than the diesel, it is a typical Volkswagen. The radiator fans have gone out twice. He's had to replace them. And as I said, even before the tree fell on it, the sunroof leaked. The caulking was on it before the sunroof got whacked by a tree. See, it is an actual station wagon. A lot of space inside him. He's got a giant dog that goes in here, so that's a dog bed. And as we hear the door, pretty solid made, even though it was made in Mexico. Now I say made, assembled. They didn't build these diesel engines in Mexico. The important parts, hey, the Germans made them and did a pretty good job. They just put them together in Mexico because it's cheaper labor. That's the only reason they did. But interestingly enough, for a while, they were making those GTIs in Mexico, and the Volkswagen guys who really liked the GTIs because they're zippy and they only made a certain amount of them, guess what Volkswagen did? They moved the GTI production back to Germany, back to Deutschland, because they knew there's better quality over here. But you gotta say, hey, 190-something thousand miles, still runs pretty good. So here we go with our giant scan tool. We'll do diagnostics. It already detected the vehicle. That is a Volkswagen. We're gonna do a standalone diagnosis. Read the VIN, that was quick. Hey, now it may be an old car, but it can still do a topology scan. So we're gonna scan the whole car. Now it's going. And while it's doing that, we'll look around. You can see the glow plug lights flashing on and off, showing that it's gonna turn itself on. It is a diesel. And yeah, just putting paper up here because the sunroof parts have fallen down to cover it up, but who cares? See how many trouble codes that it does? It's up to 7, so it's not going to set a new record like that Mercedes last year. They had like 89 trouble codes. It's got 8 so far, and it's 92% done. So it's 100% done. There's only 8. Now that's not bad for a German product. The ECM says, okay, he has an aftermarket exhaust and tuner, he said. That may affect it. Let's see. Exhaust gas temperature sensor, upper limit exceeded. Exhaust gas temperature. Okay, that's not surprising because none of that stuff exists anymore. The whole exhaust system's been replaced with an aftermarket, and hey, being a diesel, and the state of Idaho doesn't emissions test diesel, so he doesn't care. Well, let me rephrase that. If you live in Boise, then you're in trouble because they do it in Boise. So register your vehicle outside of Boise, and you won't have to deal with any of that crazy nonsense. I mean, Boise's pretty much in the middle of nowhere. I've been there. I don't know why they think they're special. So we'll erase these, but it won't really matter. They'll come back because those sensors don't even exist anymore. The codes came back. They didn't erase. As he said, the wires are there, but they're not hooked up. So let's look at these other ones here. The brake system. Tire pressure warning. Lower limit not reached. Well, personally, I don't want lower limits of air pressure in my tires. I want to have max, right? Well, that TPMS system on this aren't going to work all that good when it's this old. You're not going to spend all that money putting tire pressure sensors. Get a tire pressure gauge. What? He's got one in his glove box. So let's check out the next one. Electronic Central Electric. Say that 15 times fast. Let's see what that trouble code is. Here we go, trouble code. What crazy German code would this be? Okay, terminal 30 for interior illumination. Open circuit. Well, no fooling, half of that stuff's gone. And then another one, footwell lights, open circuit to B+. Do you really need footwell lights? No, you don't. And the other says drive battery voltage, open circuit. Well, and that's passive sporadic. Oh, well. Now, the owner just informed me that there are fuses missing that he took out, and that's probably why. You're not going to get any voltage if you don't have a fuse. But it still runs, stops okay. The windows rolled down. The AC actually still blows cold, which is amazing for a Volkswagen. Now, here's another one. Driver's door electronics. Well, you know it opens and closes and the window works. What more do you want out of a door? Well, let's see what it says here. And it says, turn signal in exterior rear view mirror. Oh, whoa, it doesn't work right. I guess we'll have to sell the car now because of that. What's the last one there? Electronic Central Electrical System 2. Not 1, but 2. Roof shade control module, no signal. Well, no fooling. We can kind of see that. We saw that crazy. So let's start her up and look at some of the live data. Realize this is a Volkswagen, so everything has to be done with stupid Volkswagen codes. You can see it showing the actual fuel pressure, coolant temperature. Now, of course, it does tons more, but this is the problems with Europeans. You got to know all the codes for all the systems in order to get into them. They can't just do a simple thing like, here's all the data, like on a Toyota. I just did a 2-year-old Toyota Tacoma. It had 324 points of data that I could go through all at once, right? Not this thing. You gotta go through one after another after another. So they make it secret so only the Germans can figure out what's wrong with these things. Okay, now here we got a whole bunch of more data. We'll just look. Remember, black's good, red's bad. Shows you the duration of the injectors. Everything so far is totally normal. Mass airflow. Now look. The injector quantity deviation, it's not much, right? The worst is minus 0.05. It was 7, now it's 5. So that's only 0.03% off. Yeah, not bad for something that's got 197,378 miles on it. This thing's German. They will just overwhelm you with data. Look. La 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 la. La, 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 la. Okay, there we go. Soot measured. Well, I can't really measure the soot because these things had a particulate filter on them when they were built. This doesn't have one anymore. That's long gone. So this data won't make any sense either. But at least I gotta give it to him. He took all that crap off, and it runs fine, gets 50 miles a gallon. So at least they didn't make it so that, oh, it won't even run if we disconnect these things. Hey, I'll give them that. Now there's a diesel, so it makes a little bit of noise, but let's back her up. No backup camera on this baby. It's actually got a very smooth idle for a 4-cylinder diesel. Really, it sounds like a diesel, but hey, runs perfectly fine. And with the standard transmission, they have much better acceleration than with an automatic transmission. Although most Americans, as I said, don't drive them. They wouldn't even think about buying a car like this. And if they bought the automatic transmission version, man, they would be sorry at how slow the thing is. Even with the turbo. Still got original struts and everything on it. It still corners well. They're nice driving cars. That's how they sell them. Brakes work perfectly fine. I just got to remember to give it a little more gas. It's actually not a bad little car. Got a little bit of zip to it for a diesel. So here we go to our little drag strip. Looks like nobody's behind us. Here we go. Whee! No traction control. Not bad for a diesel, really. That's got more pickup than I expected. We were rudely interrupted by a tractor, so here we go back into our driving. You see, we're going 35 and we'll floor it. You can see, it picks up decently. I am pleasantly surprised by this little bitty 2-liter turbo diesel engine. Still extremely stable on the road, even though it was made in Mexico. I do have to say, I am surprised at how smooth this thing with almost 200,000 miles runs with a little bitty 4-cylinder diesel. Now, this was one of the Dieselgate engines, but it's had the upgrade to it so it doesn't pollute, and it still runs quite fine. And we're in the twisties now. Still handles really well too. Sure, the check engine light's on. We already know that. He's disconnected half of the exhaust sensors and the glow plug light keeps flashing on and off, but hey, still starts and goes down the road perfectly fine. Personally, I'm shocked that the AC is still blowing so cold. It is freezing cold. And he hasn't had to do anything to it either. That's amazing. And sure, it's got a tiny bit of turbo lag. There it goes, it just kicked in, but hey, it's not a race car. Sure, it's dirty and dusty inside, but hey, it's dirty and dusty outside too. It's consistent. So there you have it, a Volkswagen station wagon diesel gets 50 miles a gallon. The AC blows freezing cold. Yeah, it's got a dent on the top, but that gave him $11,000. This would be the perfect car for Americans, except for 3 things. Americans hate diesels, they don't know how to drive manual transmissions, and they want SUVs. They don't like station wagons. Aside from that, this would be the perfect car. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.